Next item, Superintendent Search Update, Ad Hoc Committee, Chair, Mr. McMahon.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. You continue to do a wonderful job, and those public speaking courses are paying off. Regarding our superintendent search process, we have spent a few months creating, informing the board of different research processes, and so currently the update right now is we've issued the RFP for national search firms. That was Thursday, August 21st. We are currently receiving information and proposals from firms, and the proposal deadline is Tuesday, September 16th. So a week from tomorrow is when the process of receiving our RFPs ends, and then we'll have on Wednesday the 17th, we'll have a public proposal acknowledgement, and Monday, September 22nd, the responsiveness determinations and process management by our administration, the behind the scenes work, will be delivered to the board. And in between the 22nd of September and our next board meeting, which is scheduled for October 6th right now, the Board of Education will we'll do a finalist search, or select the finalists. We'll conduct finalist interviews for the search firms. Am I correct on that, Ms. Tyson, with our calendar? And that's between now and then. And all right, and that's where we are right now in the timeline of the process. And Mr. Coleman received some detailed information from our communities, and I think he'd like to elaborate just a little bit on that.
Thanks, Mr. McMahon. So, Mr. McMahon just talked through where we are on the RFQ and finding a search firm. One thing that we've requested of different communities is that they just give us input as we're proceeding along this. It's important to us. And a piece of input I thought I'd reflect tonight is the Parent Council United, which works across DeKalb at multiple schools, sent us some feedback in pretty great detail from one of their meetings. And what I thought I'd do is just offer that up really quickly as we move to our next session. And I'd also offer up an invitation to other parent councils, other community organizations. As you have concerns about this process, as you just want to provide input or feedback to this process, please do reach out with that feedback. Email us, come to public comments. I think we're going to hear from some folks tonight. This is going to be your superintendent too, starting sometime next summer. And so it's very important that we hear from you, that we reflect that in our process. So again, this was feedback we received from the PCU. Not necessarily that any of us agree with all of it, but this is the kind of thing that we're hearing. First, they were hoping that parent councils more broadly would provide input. I know that, for instance, the Emory-La Vista Parent Council is going to provide input after their October 15th meeting, and we look for that from others. They want to see transparency and accountability at every step of the process, and I think we're fully committed to that as a board. They wanted to make sure that the Board of Education understands, the members here understand the history of superintendent searches in DeKalb, all of which have gone extremely well from what I've heard. And that we're aware of that history so that we can learn from that history. I think that they would like involvement in the selection of a search firm and the superintendent so that there are community members who operate as part of that search process. Obviously, we've seen another district go through that recently, and they had an independent search committee. They would at least like to see some community participation in that process, irrespective of whether we use that search committee format. They did suggest the search committee format and suggested that we meet with the person who had led that search committee in order to get their perspective on it. We've already kind of reviewed some information about that, but they suggested we do that. They suggested that some of the board members who are rolling off continue to participate in that selection process after the first of the year. Mr. Thurman is smiling at me. I promise I'm actually reading that from the email here. And then they provided very valuable input on the superintendent. A few comments they said is they should have experience with charters, have ideas for handling ethics, perhaps even an ethics committee, and just making sure we're doing that well. Experience bringing together communities in a diverse system, which is obviously very important here. Should be a risk taker, politically savvy, able to take a stand on issues with state or state legislature, and should not speak in platitudes, cliches, or education jargon. So those were just a few points of feedback from them. I'm sure we'll hear from others tonight. Read without comment, Mr. Thurman.
I would.
But we're thankful for that feedback, and we look forward to feedback from other councils and other groups around the community.
And I would like to thank the ad hoc committee for working very diligently on this process. But I do want the public to know and realize that this is a continuous process, and although it may be some times to make decisions, maybe on a 2-week notice for certain activities of the board, but we will keep you informed. At this time, item E, due to illness, Mr. Ramsey is not here, so therefore we do not need an executive session that he was going to cover at that time. So at this time, I call for a motion to adjourn from the committee of the whole. No discussion. All in favor, let me know by show of hands. So we are adjourned.